Hey Stitchers, Vanna here. I'm sorry it's been so long. I've had a lot of life stuff going on, so I haven't had very much time to post a new video. I'm gonna do a few tags today rather than just the one, and then I'm gonna show you kind of what I've been working on. I haven't really worked on two of the projects you've seen in the past because I've done a lot of traveling and they've gotten placed somewhere. I'm just not sure where. Ah. But first up, I'm going to do the Halloween tag today. So this one is from last year by Jolicius. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm so sorry, but I figured this was perfect time of year to be doing this tag. And the first question is, how do you like your Halloween entertainment? Cute and fun or super scary? I lean more towards super scary, but at the same time, that doesn't really happen around where I am, so I typically will take what I can get. What is your favorite Halloween candy? Candy corn. I adore candy corn. Which kind of answers this next question. Candy corn, love it or hate it? I absolutely love it. If I was given a bag of that, I would devour it in a day, sort of love. So, I love it, my hips don't. What is your favorite scary movie or Halloween themed movie in general? I know I typically like scary stuff, but as far as my Halloween movies go, I'm more of a cute person. I really, really, really love Hocus Pocus and Halloween Town. The latter probably because I watched it every Halloween as I was growing up. So it's rose tinted glasses sort of thing. Do you have a yearly Halloween tradition? No. My husband moves around a lot for his job, so it makes it really hard to come up with traditions. Good example is a couple years ago, I was decorating the house of my kind of apartment thing. It was called H-style housing, and me and my neighbor got along really well, so we decorated the halls and scared the bejesus out of my husband. That was a lot of fun. Last year, I barely touched my Halloween stuff because we had just moved in here and we hadn't had a chance to do so. We're going to try and do more this year, though. Favorite or most memorable Halloween costume? I typically go with kind of a witch's costume, but it's not really a witch's costume. That's just the closest thing to it. I add to it every couple of years. This year I think I'll be adding fairy wings to it. Recommend a Halloween themed cross stitch pattern. Oh, I have a few that I really like. I've seen some of the really, really pretty witches. I really like those, but I'm a humongous Pokemon fan. And there are a number of Pokemon that are ghost Pokemon, and Pumpkaboo is one of the Pokemon, and it's a pumpkin Pokemon, and it is adorable. And I'd really like to stitch that little guy up, but I haven't had a chance to yet. And that's all for this tag. The other tag, one of the other tags I wanted to do is kind of appropriate because I've been doing this a lot lately. Travel stitching tag. The first question is, or it was posted originally August of this year by Renta Stitch. Good lord, I'm butchering these names. I'm sorry for that, but I'm trying my best. first question is, do you bring stitching with you when you travel? Most definitely. Most of my traveling is 3 weeks at a time or more, sometimes, and most of the time it's multiple states, and I could not go that long without stitching. Was my favorite second question is, was your favorite project to bring on trips? I typically bring my Heaven and Earth designs, if it's a day trip or something like that, or if I'm going to be outside. Sometimes I kind of try and leave it in the car. I won't even leave it home, I'll just leave it in the car. And I'll show you what project I've been bringing with me recently, once we get further into the video. What are my indispensable tools to bring to help my stitching on a trip? I just bring needle, scissors, and sometimes I'll bring my what's it called? Needle threader. That's what it's called, sorry. To take with me, and just for some of the Krynic and things like that, which is fun. The last one that I wanted to do is Confessions of a Cross Stitcher tag, and that was May of this year by Vintage Cheek Stitcher. Just cross stitch or specialty stitches? I do both. Whole stitches are run like half, and quarter stitches too. I try and do full stitches. Just half stitches don't quite look right to me. And especially when I'm trying to give examples to other people, like when I'm teaching at the Maker's Day Fair, for instance, or one of the other multiple fairs that we sometimes do, it's good to have an example of a piece that is fully stitched. French knots or beads in their pace? I actually haven't done French knots yet, so I'll find out when I get there. Backstitch, nemesis, or friend? It really depends on the project. There are certain projects where I take one look at it and I say, why am I doing backstitch on this? I hate this for backstitch because I'm trying to go through a hole that I've already gone through 4 or 5 times. And I just want it to stop. Number 5 is washed or unwashed. Depends on the project. If it's something with threads that I'm not sure about the color fastness, unwashed. If it's something that I know is going to be color fast and that the fabric's good and I can just go ahead and do that, I'll wash it. Iron or what's an iron? I hate my iron. I hate my ironing board, but I've been using it a lot lately, so take that with a grain of salt. I try and iron as much as possible, but after a certain point in time it's like, it's good enough. Frame FFOs or other finishes? My stuff has typically been framed if I manage to find a good framer, or if I think it's something I really, really want to frame. Because I hate doing my own finishing work, and if I was to do my own finishing work, I'd have to do it myself, and I'd have to pull up all my stuff, find the right fabric, put it all together, and no. I don't want to do it anymore. Especially if I was to do it, I'd have to do it in December or January because those are kind of my down months. And otherwise, I am slammed with enough finishing work as is. Stickler for the pattern or creative muse? I am a stickler for the pattern, typically. There are times where I will modify it slightly to make it look the way I think it should look, but I don't do that frequently. Organized stitcher or ruler of chaos. I try and stay as organized as humanly possible while traveling. At home, it's okay. I think I have everything next to me, and it'll get back in the bag at the end of the night. Planned or spontaneous? I have to plan. All of my stitching is always planned. Process stitcher or project driven? I typically am a project driven person. I like that I can focus on a project rather than trying to divide my attention between 3 or 4 different projects and processes in general. Number 13 is impulse buyer or thoughtful purchaser. A little bit of both. If I see a pattern that I have to have, I have to have it. That doesn't happen very frequently. Typically, I plan what I'm going to buy, when I'm going to buy it, how, what fabric I want it on, what thread, what specialty stuff I want to use. All of that gets planned in advance. If I make a mistake, do I have to frog it out? Heck no. If I make a mistake and I can see it, then I will frog it. If I can't see it, or if I'm sure once I'm done with the project I won't be able to, like I have a couple of stitches where I have put one color that was one shade off in the wrong place, I'm not going to be able to see it in the end, and no one else is either. Forget it. I'm not unstitching 100 stitches just to make it work. That's not happening. Have I ever shown my work? If not, will I like to one day? I will be, once that big Heaven Earth Designs project gets finished, it is going to be entered into something called the Del Mar Fair. That will be at least a year off, possibly 2 more years before I can do that. But that will definitely be put so that people can see it. Who do I stitch for? In my job, I stitch for everybody else. When I'm stitching something for fun, it is for me, with the exception of a gift. Now I've got one of those that I've already given away, but I will insert a picture of that later in the video when I bring it up. If you stitch gifts, are they delivered on time or are they fashionably late? I try and do everything on time. However, the example is the baby quilt that I'm working on right now is not delivered on time, but the maybe is a month early. So I was supposed to have another month. I thought I had another month. I didn't. So that one's gonna be fashionably late. But I do actually try and get things done on time. Otherwise, because it's my job normally to get things done on time, if I don't have it done on time, something's wrong with the project and I need to go talk to my boss. And that's never a good thing. Where is the strangest place you have ever stitched? Oh, there are a number of really, really strange places I have stitched. I have stitched in the middle of a park in Japan. I have stitched while watching a tournament where people were hitting each other with foam swords. So I've had a really odd places of stitching that I don't know if I could pick just one. I think the most memorable was a hospital bed while I was in Japan. Is there any place on earth where you would really like to stitch? If I could go back to the temples or the shrines in Japan and find myself a quiet corner, those would be really wonderful to stitch in again because they are really quiet. There is just a feel to the air that is amazing, and I miss doing that. If you could only stitch one project, a single project for a year, which would it be? It would be my Heaven and Earth Designs. I love that project, and for the most part I do just stitch on it and not others. What is the most amount of work in progresses you've had going at a time? 3. I don't like to do a lot of them. How old is your oldest work in progress? A year old, and that's the Heaven and Earth Designs, and that's because it's massive. Honestly, tell us about your stash. How many charts and kits do you have? Let's see. Charts, I have, I think, almost 7 Heaven and Earth Designs. One of the Mirabilia, and let's see, not really much else. I don't do a lot of impulse buys, so those are the ones that are undone. Oh wait, I do have one that was given to me recently by another stitcher who has had it in their stash for 20 years. And the reason I now have it is because it's a lighthouse near where my mother lives that I really like. Which designs/designers do you absolutely adore and cannot live without? Heaven and Earth Designs or Gecko Rouge. I'd really like to get a Gecko Rouge. I just haven't had the money for it. And they're also really big projects. I like big projects, and I cannot lie. How many hours a week do you devote to stitching? For my job, probably 40 to 60 hours a week. For personal stuff, it's whatever extra time I actually do have, and that's not always easy to find. Question number 27 is, you are on a deserted island and resources are scarce. There are 4 options available to you. Chocolate, coffee, Mr. Darcy, as played by Colin Firth, of course, or stitching. You can only pick 2. Go. Easy! Really easy. I don't drink coffee, and I have no idea who that other one is. So, chocolate and stitching. Preferably stitching over chocolate, actually. Number 28, the last question. Does your significant other really know how much you spend on your craft? Yes, he does. I make sure to tell him because that's really, really, really important for him to know. Otherwise, how would we budget things? We like to budget in my household. Well, that's it for the tags. I wasn't expecting those to quite take so long, but oh well. Let's get right in here and start going over some of the stuff I've done. First off is the baby quilt. The pattern looks like this. I know it's an awful photo. The directions aren't much better. I had to have another quilter say, okay, here's how you do it. But the blocks look like, whoops, stay, I'll talk about you in a second. this. And the darker ones look like this, or some variation of the fabrics thereof. It's 20 different colors, and there are going to be 20 different blocks, and the colors are paired together, and then you swap the colors, and it's done with Jelly Roll, and it's a lot of fun. It's absolutely gorgeous. I've got half of the blocks for the top done, and two more blocks in progress back there, which I'm not going to even pull out because, well, I just wanted to show you kind of what they look like. I've got 10 out of the 20 blocks done. Hopefully I'll have the rest of the quilt top done soon, so I can start quilting the flippin' thing so I can get it to the baby. Cause yeah, month makes a big difference in this world, I promise. I believe I've talked about the SCA in a previous video. This is what I'm working with their Needleworkers Guild. It is Gothic lettering that the needleworker mistress has made into patterns. Mine is the letter T because it's the first letter of my first name. I've learned a lot from this one. I already knew how to applique and things like that. But one of the really cool things that I learned recently is that you can spray paint lace. That lace was originally white, but now it's this very, very gorgeous gold color. This thing is nowhere close to being done. I've got to bedazzle it with all sorts of beads and things like that. So this will be done eventually, but for right now, it's kind of the project I take with me when I'm going to an SCA event and I just want to sit down and not have to think about what I'm doing because I'm still in the applique process, and that's just one stitch over and over and over again, as a lot of quilters can tell you. So that's been fun. I had another project that I did get done and finished. It was a little biscornu. Unfortunately, I do not have it anymore. I gave it to the friend who was receiving it. I was traveling for 3 weeks, and one of the trips was to visit her. She has given me some of her cross stitch, so I did a little black work biscornu that I will insert the picture for here, that I finished for her, and I really enjoyed the process of doing that. I did that partially while my mother drove and I was sitting in the car for, 20 hours or so. I did a lot of traveling in the meantime. The final project is, of course, my Heaven and Earth Designs, Moonlight Serenade. I've gotten some more done with it, but not a lot. Unfortunately, I haven't had as much time as I would have liked. And let's see how to do this. I think I'm going to have to move my microphone and then move it back, so I won't be talking in the meantime. Sorry about that. That was Moonlight Serenade. She is coming along really, really well. She's on page 6. Like I said, not much time for me personally to stitch, but is still by far my favorite project to work on. I do bring it with me basically everywhere. The members here are starting to get to know me for that project rather than by my face, because I bring it with me everywhere and it's big and it's very, very noticeable. I really don't have anything else to say. This is a lot longer than my normal videos, but I hope it was worth it and I hope you enjoyed watching. I think in post I will probably put or when I get it onto YouTube, I will put where the tags, where each tag is, and then where the the projects are. That way people can skip to wherever they want to in my video. Once again, I'm very sorry for taking up so much of your time, but I really hope you enjoyed my video. And as always, enjoy your needles, people.